So this video is about marriage mediation. So I'm a psychologist in private practice and also a registered mediator, and I find that marriage mediation really combines these two fields together. So who comes to marriage mediation? Essentially anyone whose marriage is in trouble, and I find the main reason why people's marriages are in trouble is often because they don't know how to communicate with each other, and specifically they don't know how to have difficult conversations with each other. So this is what marriage mediation really does. It helps people to communicate with each other, not only intellectually but also emotionally, because a marriage isn't like your relationship with your boss at work. It's an emotional relationship. Strong emotions come out, so it's important to communicate emotionally as well as intellectually. And I think the men in particular really enjoy this more of a structured approach to marriage mediation, which I'm going to go through in a second. I'm actually going to explain how a marriage mediation session works, but also how you can communicate with each other at home, because all that a marriage mediation is, it's basically having a facilitator, i.e. a psychologist and mediator, to help you both communicate with each other. Because often people don't know how to communicate. They often go straight to the anger, or they go straight to the blame, or you need to do this, you need to do that, but they don't actually communicate with each other in that they don't actually explain or understand what issues they have and also their partner has, and they don't communicate where they're coming from in terms of these different issues. And I find if couples are able to do this, as opposed to going straight to the blaming or going straight to the you need to change in this way, that the communication can happen, but also an actual proper conversation can occur, and ultimately your relationship can improve. So with this in mind, I actually want to go through now the 4-stage process with you that I do in a marriage mediation, but also that you can use at home when you've got an issue with your partner. So this is, I guess, based on a mediation methodology, and if you were to go into any mediation, this is the facilitative model that the mediator will follow. So, as I mentioned, it's about getting the issues on the table first. So the first step really is concerns. So you really want to explain to your partner what is pissing you off. So, it'll start being very behaviourally based. So it might be that they haven't cleaned up after themselves, and that's caused a reaction within you. That's a deeper reaction than just them not cleaning up, say not putting the dishes away or not doing the washing up. But that's how you start the conversation. So you might say to your partner, I want to talk to you about the fact that you didn't put the dishes away last night. So that actually starts the conversation off. I don't want it to be about that, but that's how it starts off. And then once you've identified what the concern is, then you go to the issues stage, which is the second stage, which is really what you want the conversation to focus on. And now the issue stage is these underlying issues. So what did that behaviour bring up for you? It might have brought up, say, a lack of respect, or that the other person doesn't care or care about you. And this is where you really need to communicate with the other person, which is stage 3, as to, well, where are you coming from? How long has this been going on for you? You might feel lack of respect, or the other person doesn't care about you for years, but you never actually said anything, and it's been all in your mind. See, we're all a little bit autistic in the sense that autistic people have what we call, they don't have any theory of mind, in that they think that everyone is experiencing reality as the same as they are. Everyone's in their mind, seeing everything, having the same thoughts, but your partner is not. They can't read your mind, and they're experiencing reality differently. So it's very important for you to actually communicate to them why this is an issue for you, because otherwise they won't know. So once you've done that and you've explained to the other person, not only intellectually why it's an issue, because often it's an emotional issue as well. You need to communicate the anxiety, the anger, the frustration, even the depression that you've been feeling over this time. And only then can you go to stage 4, which is the negotiation. And the negotiation starts with an options generation. So both parties actually explain, what do I want to change? So one option that you might put on the table for this example might be that I want you to clean up after yourself. Every night I want the dishes to be done before we go to bed at night time. But then again, there might be some more broader behaviours around this lack of respect. It might be, I want you to compliment me more, or I want you to have a date night with me once a week. I don't know, whatever it is. And I'm sure if this is an issue for you, you'd come up with some ideas. And they'd probably come up with some ideas as well. And only once all the options are on the table, then can you actually negotiate on them. See, it's basically, most people go straight to the negotiation without actually explaining to the other party what issues they have and where they're coming from. So the other party doesn't really know where it is that they're coming from, and that's where communication breakdowns happen. And that's when the walls come up as well. But through doing this process, the walls come down, you actually can understand where the other person's coming from, and you've got to develop a bit of empathy for the other person. And all these things that you think that you need, you probably realize that you don't need them as much, because the real need is being addressed, which is this need to be heard and understood. And then that's essentially the end of the process. Then hopefully you'll agree to a few different concrete actions, and then you'll move on to your next issue, whatever that is. And this is the process that you can do at home, and it's also the process that you can do in like a marriage mediation session. Now, also underlying this process is also communication skills that's required. So when the other person's explaining what their issues or concerns are to you, for example, you need to listen to them. And that's easier said than done. So we call it Lars Q. It's listening, acknowledging, reframing, summarizing, and questioning. So when they're saying what their issue is to you, you need to listen, make sense. But also you need to acknowledge. So if the issue again was that lack of respect and you're listening to your partner tell you this, you need to really say, well, that must have been really difficult for you. Like, that must have been quite anxious if that's what the emotion that was coming up for you. Just to acknowledge what they're going through is something that a lot of couples fail to do. It's all about me, 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 me. And the reframing is, is bring it back to the issue. So they might say, oh, you don't care, or you're a bastard, or you're a bitch, or whatever. It's not very helpful in terms of a conversation. So you need to bring it back to, okay, so you're very upset now because I didn't put the dishes away, or very upset because I don't acknowledge you. And that keeps the conversation on track. And then you have the summarizing as well. So you just summarize back to the other party what they've said to you. And then the questioning. So questioning is really good. It's when they say, you didn't put the dishes away. If you're listening to them, you might say, well, okay, so I'm seeing this as an issue for you. Why is it such an issue for you? Help me understand why it is such an issue. Now, you might think that these are very basic skills, or that the other party's going to see right through you, or laugh at you, or it's going to take the process off track. It really doesn't, and it's very important for the process. So, yeah, these are some basic skills for how to have a difficult conversation, and try them out, see what you think.